We're going to close out with Joe Rogan, arguably the most famous bald person on the planet. The decline of Joe Rogan is really something to marvel at. I myself was a Joe Rogan enjoyer up until 2020. Actually, I'd say like through the end of 2020. I remember he had that infectious disease doctor on his show during the onset of COVID, trying to understand all of the craziness that was going on. But since then, Joe Rogan has turned into a propaganda arm for the Trump administration. He's had Trump on his show. He's had JD Vance on his show. This clip that we're watching is from Kash Patel, who is the director of the FBI. The reason why Joe Rogan is a propagandist for the state is that he does not bring in any sort of opposing viewpoint. Joe's thing was always like not necessarily impartiality, but he was just very curious about, he's a very inquisitive person. But something about COVID just like broke his fucking brain. And now he doesn't want to hear anything from the left side of the political spectrum. There was all that hubbub around him not interviewing Kamala Harris because he wanted to do it at the studio and she didn't allow it. Like, I don't know. I'm reluctant to call myself a media figure, but I kind of feel like if you open the can of worms to talking to one side of the political aisle, especially if you try to label yourself as like an independent, then you have to provide that to the other side as well. I understand that if Sam Cedar doesn't want to interview a Republican, I understand that because he's very open about his hatred for, the Republican Party. Very much like how if Jesse Waters doesn't want to have a fucking socialist on his show, I understand why. Like these two people are very staunch in their beliefs, but Joe still tries to keep up the facade of being an independent, of being an enlightened centrist, and he's just simply not that. Kash Patel came on his program to talk about the Epstein files, and this was some of the worst lying that I have ever seen in my life. I would like he is so wildly unconvincing. I watched Hassan Piker react to this, and he was like, "Yeah, if this guy was making an argument for something, I would believe the opposite. Like if this guy told me that, if Kash Patel told me that LeBron was the GOAT, I would say actually, maybe that Jordan guy was onto something." But let's go ahead. Let's get into this.
Rogan experience.
Let's just get to it because I know it's on people's mind. Epstein, right?
Let's address the elephant in the room. This guy's mug is always insane. He looks like he's tweaking 24 hours a day. Kash Patel, looks at all times like he's ingested too much pre-workout and that he is having an out-of-body experience by way of heavy caffeine intake. This dude straight up has crazy eyes. This guy, if I were to make eye contact with him, I would feel a little bit uneasy. Like his vibes are that of unrest.
The reason people are pissed off about that is the same thing, right? 20 years ago or whenever it was, 2006, 7, 8, Epstein gets his sweetheart plea deal, right?
Right.
After committing the most horrific crimes on planet Earth, right? I wasn't in power there. I wasn't in place there. I had, nothing to do with it. But people were rightfully pissed. I mean, this guy was committing the most grotesque acts you can against children. And the media spins up about it. Many in the media protected him. Why? Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings.
Why do you think, Kash Patel, that at no point has anyone tried to declassify the Epstein files? It's because of that. This guy was an intelligence asset to not only the United States of America, but also to Israel. He, because of his wealth, because of his prominence in business and in politics, knew a lot of high-profile people. There is a goddamn prince, a member of the goddamn royal family, implicated in all of this. The reason why the files have not been released, and the reason why you will never release the files is because there are too many people in the ruling class who will be implicated by them. Right away, any person with a fucking functioning frontal cortex knows that this guy is full of shit. The reason why the Epstein files have not been released is entirely purposeful. It's intentional.
And so when you peel back the layer, and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go round, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And
what happened in the 8 years before? What happened in the 8 years in between? Why was Jeffrey Epstein not prosecuted sooner? I mean, there was a very credible case against him. There was actually someone in the Trump administration. Her name escapes me. She's like kind of a nobody. She was the former Attorney General of Florida when Epstein was living there. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. Pam Bondi, the current Attorney General from the United States, chose not to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein despite his credible sexual assault case or whatever the specific charges would have been. She elected, as the Attorney General of Florida, to let this man be free.
I've said it. Dan Bongino said it. We've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release. He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical conclusion of this. Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? Because the problem is there's been...
Yeah, no, I definitely think that you guys would engage in a government cover-up. I definitely do believe that. First of all, this guy, Kash Patel, is a wild conspiracy theorist. Dan Bongino is as well. You wrote a fucking children's book, Kash Patel, in which Donald Trump is the goddamn king. Dan Bongino was a fucking podcaster before he got appointed deputy director of the FBI. The only reason that you guys are in any position of prominence is because you are Trump dick suckers. You are Trump dick riders. If he says not to prosecute people based on this, or if he says play dumb about Epstein, you're going to fucking do it because you are an unserious person. You don't have a conscience. You only care about what Donald Trump's perception of you is.
Like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y, and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you if it existed? I'm working my ass off along with the leadership at the Bureau and DOJ to get you what we're allowed to give you. And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
Okay, let's get into that. So what did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of it?
But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender.
That's just so crazy to not think that the most reputable conspiracy of the millennium is false. There are a lot of wacky things that conspiracy theorists have talked about for as long as I've been online. Jeffrey Epstein killing himself is definitely like the most valid of them. Like, yeah, he definitely did not kill himself. I don't know how anybody can think otherwise. It is too fucking perfect. And here's Kash Patel doing his best to lie to Joe fucking Rogan.
Back in the day, I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, shoes as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way, based on public information at the time, that he ended up, the pictures and him hanging himself, I was like, man, that guy killed himself. There's just no way that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. there's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I've been in.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
Right?
yeah, and in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like,
Right.
where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah. But no one can get in to the cell. And if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
We're giving you all the footage we have.
Dude.
So
Dude. What's more striking about his incompetence here is, one, he's working the fucking case. You're a former prosecutor who's working this case. How do you not know the basics of it? How is Joe Rogan dancing circles around you in the marketplace of ideas? Secondly, this case has been out for, how long has it been? Has it been since like 2019, 2018? Like, dude, it's been 6 fucking years. You should have an airtight recollection of all of the evidence that you've accrued along the way, because this is not a new thing. This is well documented. This is a very high profile individual that allegedly killed himself while awaiting trial for a case where he would have laid out the massive pedophile ring plaguing the rulers and the prominent people all over the world. I don't know who told you that. Like, dude, yeah, this is why it's like very real that it's possible. Oh, you mean to tell me that the camera just happened to be down when Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself? It's like, who is buying this? Who is buying what this man is selling?
why wasn't that released like immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I'm speeding up so that way we're not here for fucking 35 minutes.
You'd have to ask whoever the attorney general back then was, Bill Barr.
Did you ever see? Do you remember that HBO autopsy show? Dr. Michael Baden. He's a famous forensic
I don't think I've
scientist. So he's a pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation, and it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it.
I admittedly, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, but guess what? I don't give a fuck. Don't recall that much about the details of the Epstein case. I'm also not the fucking director of the FBI who is actively working on this case. But every time Joe mentions something like this, it comes back to me. It's like, oh, I do remember the analysis of his death being one akin to homicide. I recall this part. I think that it was also like the way in which that he quote unquote hanged himself. It just like wasn't feasible given the dimensions of the room and how, and Jeffrey Epstein's size or whatever it was.
I'll definitely take a look at it because that's part of my job.
You haven't seen that?
The report?
Yeah.
No, I haven't looked at that.
Did you see any?
If this is my lawyer, I'm going to jail, man. No, I did not see that. Bro, how are you a former prosecutor and you have not compiled enough evidence to refute, I almost called him Joe Biden, to refute Joe Rogan's talking points? This is like being a professional basketball player and getting beat by your fucking nephew, who's 7.
Was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it. And that's what we're doing.
See if you can find that Dr. Michael Baden thing.
Yeah. No,
Did you remember that show, the HBO show?
No.
Pretty cool show.
Yeah.
So this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, he had a long career of catching murderers, exhuming bodies, finding trace amounts of poisons, different kinds of things. And it was a crazy show, like all these wild ways.
Well, I love watching shows and I spend a lot of time on planes. So.
Yeah, it was an old show. It was a show like from the early 2000s, I believe. But this guy was, this very well-respected forensic scientist.
What is he yapping about? He just put Kash Patel in a fucking leg lock and let him go. Press this guy. press this goober on his incompetence and press this goober for running defense for the fucking state.
Analyze these bodies, and it was his determination that he was murdered.
Yeah. And my job, going back to the core of what I've been doing since I started Russiagate, was to get is to get everybody the information.
When did you get here? Epstein's autopsy points to homicide. Pathologist hired by brother claims. New York City medical examiner strongly disputed the claim that the evidence from the autopsy suggests
this is what I remember about the autopsy, not the HBO show, but there was an additional autopsy done.
So let's go to by the way, this is the New York Times, and they never lie. The private pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, said the morning TV show Fox and Friends, Mr. Epstein experienced a number of injuries, among them a broken bone in his neck that are
Does Fox and Friends
unusual
lie,
in
Joe?
suicidal hangings.
Oh, the New York Times never lies, but they're pulling this reporting from Fox and Friends. That's interesting.
And could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. I think the evidence points to homicide rather than suicide, said Dr. Baden, who observed the autopsy done by city officials. Dr. Baden, a former New York City medical examiner and a Fox News contributor, said, I have not seen in 50 years where that occurred in suicidal hanging case. Findings by Dr. Baden were strongly disputed by the city's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, who previously ruled that Mr. Epstein's death on August 10th in the Metropolitan Correctional Center was a suicide. I stand firmly behind our determination of the cause and manner of death in this case. Dr. Sampson said in the interview on Wednesday. She added, in general, fractures of the hyoid bone and cartilage can be seen in suicides and homicides. The hyoid bone is near the Adam's apple. Dr. Sampson also dismissed Dr. Baden's contention that the circumstances around Mr. Epstein's death suggested other people may have been involved. She said her office had done a complete investigation, taking into consideration information gathered by law enforcement in making the determination.
So this is a perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth, literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is
but one of them has evidence, as in an autopsy, and the other has vibes, right? We've done our own investigation and found that we were correct. This guy sucks. He's a bad lawyer. What was the rate on his defendants not going to jail? Because I could not imagine that a lot of them walked free with this fucking clown as their lawyer. Talking about a war of experts when one of the experts has a fucking anecdote, that being the city's medical commissioner, and the other, an independent pathologist or an independent coroner, having an actual fucking autopsy.
Forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
When did you become aware of this video that showed that no one had gone in and out of the cell?
And this is why Joe is a propagandist, because why would he not question that? Why would he not question the introduction of evidence?
Recently.
So why was it recent, though? I mean, if this death was, how long ago was this death? 2 years? 2019? Oh, really? Wow, time flies. So 6 years.
Well, again, that's part of what I'm going to try to answer for you.
Jeffrey Epstein jail CCTV erased by technical errors. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
But you see how anybody on the outside, I mean, this is like a perfect storm for something. Can you pull that article up so we can read what it says, Jamie? U.S. prosecutor said the jail mistakenly saved footage from the wrong cell. Sorry. Epstein, a convicted sex offender, first tried to kill himself in July last year and hanged himself in jail.
Hang on.
Yep.
Reread that line.
That he first tried to kill himself in July of last year. Yeah.
How much of the American public do you think knows that?
I didn't know that until right now.
There you go.
Maybe I heard it and forgot. Did you ever hear it, Jamie?
That's why he's on suicide watch, I think.
Oh, okay.
So a guy
hanged himself in jail in August while serving trial on federal sex trafficking charge. He pleaded not guilty to abusing dozens of girls, some as young as 14. Yeah. Soon after Epstein's death in August, two of the CCTV cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned and were being examined by the FBI. Found semi-conscious in his prison cell with injuries on his neck on 25 of July. After this incident, he's placed on suicide watch.
I'm not saying every single camera in the place was working. I'm saying we've got footage and you're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can make...
Kash Patel has parroted QAnon conspiracy theories on multiple occasions, and yet he does not see the weirdness that is, this guy who was on suicide watch managed to kill himself when the camera was down, or This guy who was on suicide watch managed to have that footage erased. I am flabbergasted by the mental gymnastics. Either that or just like the lack of brain activation when it comes to him talking about this case. He has yet to refute anything. It's literally like, what's your source? It came to me in a dream. That is his defense right now.
Make up your own mind, and
Right.
the theories can continue. But my job,
So
is to give
you
you the
became
information.
aware of this footage recently.
the ones that we're looking at, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is like an article from quite a while ago that was saying that the footage was mistakenly erased.
Look, I mean, it goes back to the same. Ask the people that were in power then. I mean, I get it that you want to hold me to account for their actions, and
No, I'm not
not
saying
you, not you,
I'm not saying that.
not you, just the public in general, and that's okay.
What's confusing to everybody today, first of all, it's very confusing because AI can kind of make anything. You know, which has got to be a bizarre position for you to be in when you're looking at videos. I mean, I've watched Viking videos, look real as fuck, you know? They just make Viking towns. I mean, it's really quite incredible what they're doing now, and it accelerates every month. I mean, I talked to Elon about it, and he said we're blown away literally every week.
If
Every
you're
week there's some
getting
new-
if you're getting duped by AI, like, back it up. AI is not as good as they're making it seem. It's just not. There are still so many details that AI cannot replicate because it's just a fucking dog shit technology. I think it was Charlie Kirk tweeted something like, "This is the America that I want to live in," and it was an AI, or it was a quote of an AI generated picture, and the American flag had 44 stars, 12 stripes. There wasn't a string or anything. AI still has issues with fucking fingers and toes and people holding objects. Like, we're gonna get an AI slop Jeffrey Epstein video saying like, "I did not kill myself," or like, this is a video of me killing myself from my cell, and they're trying to pass it off as real.
breakthrough. We're like, wow, we didn't expect that.
Well, I can tell you after having looked at it, this ain't going to be AI.
You don't think so?
You're gonna. It's just not great. You know, it's like if it were AI, like someone wanted to come in and make it, they'd make it better.
But why would you make it better when people could, you could have ambiguous footage that is, totally generated by AI? I mean, AI can generate blurry images, AI can
Sure.
generate night vision, AI can generate essentially anything that's already existed, like really shitty 1984 VHS tapes. They can
Yeah.
do that.
They can, but I'm telling you, I'm giving you the tape from the tape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just like I'm giving you the documents from the vault, just like I'm giving you information to Congress on COVID origins or what have you. What we find is what you're getting.
Okay, so now it's saying 2019, missing jail video from the first Jeffrey Epstein suit. So for the first attempt has been found. So maybe let's put it into perspective. Jails are not the most efficient, best run places. It's not like,
Fort Knox?
yeah.
No, it's not.
It's, yeah,
You know, we're working with what we got.
right.
So, and listen, this
I kind of wish that Jamie was more of a Fed in this regard and stopped pulling up stuff just so we could watch Kash Patel squirm a little bit. Because, like, why didn't he had any time Jamie has brought something up, it hasn't been mentioned at any point in the conversation from Kash Patel.
guy's not the only guy to kill himself in prison. It happens, I don't know how often,
Right.
all the time.
Even if he killed himself in prison. So if he was murdered in prison, crazy, right?
Yeah.
You could see why very powerful people wouldn't
If
want
he
him
was
talking.
murdered in segregated housing, in isolation, after being on suicide watch in a place in a detention center that I've physically been in myself, it would be fiction. It's just, in my experience, that is not doable.
It's not doable even for the most powerful and
No.
wealthiest people in the world.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
That's
you think, though,
interesting
that,
because
like,
globalists apparently, like, to Kash Patel and to conspiracy theorists like him, globalists run the world and can do whatever the fuck they want, but they can't break into a Manhattan correctional facility and off Jeffrey Epstein. Again, like, what the fuck is this defense? It's like, oh, it can't happen because it's never happened before. Well, there was never a Jeffrey Epstein before Jeffrey Epstein. Like, Jeffrey Epstein never happened before. There has never been somebody with this level of prominence who went to prison for running a fucking child sex trafficking ring. A ring that, again, implicates a lot of powerful individuals.
if someone was in a position where a guy could release information that could potentially damage the most wealthy people on earth, you would have a concerted effort that's unprecedented.
Sure.
You would have the resources that we could even possibly comprehend, all pointing towards eliminating this one person that it could be done.
But I mean, so many people have been implicated, right, already, and some of that information, what they did to Prince Andrew, and everybody else is already out there, and so that's the conspiracy stuff that me and Bongino and the folks have to say, look, we will give you everything we can, and then we will have done our job. Also, if I had a shred, me, Kash Patel, had a shred of evidence, the Russiagate guy, the Jan 6 guy, the COVID origins guy, had a shred of evidence that this guy was murdered, I would be the first guy to bring this case hard and fast. And I would do a press conference.
Like you're acting like you're some independent. You're acting as though you're some independent prosecutor. You're not going to bring forth a case that implicates Donald Trump, which this one 1,000,000% does. It's just not reality. It's not true.
It says every week on it.
Mm-hmm.
The first guy. That's what I'm asking people to play out to their logical conclusion. I'm not Comey. I'm not McCabe. I'm not the guy that was in the seat before. I have a wildly different background. I've been putting out the truth my entire career. Why would I risk all of it on this guy?
I believe you catch the letter.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it. I just think that, the problem is we've been fuming on this
Sure.
conspiracy for so
Yeah.
long. And we love conspiracies, don't we?
No,
as a country,
It's
there's
good,
so
right?
much fun.
I mean, they make good
JFK
TV.
tapes, come on, like release the documents. We all love them. We love them. We love UFO ones. We love everything. We love the craziest conspiracy.
They released the documents, and there was no new information that they uncovered.
They're exciting. We don't want to hear
They're
that he
entertaining.
tried to kill himself in July and then succeeded in August. And look, I could imagine why the guy wanted to kill himself. He was going to jail for the rest of his fucking life. And in jail, sex offenders for children are not treated well.
And also, by the way, most Americans haven't, nor should they. Have you ever spent 1 minute in segregated housing?
No.
It's the worst. The absolute worst. Like, you and your background, you could probably handle it, right? Like, just in all reality, most Americans, you put them in there for 5 seconds, they're going to slam their head against the wall. Literally. They're going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
I'm sure. I could only imagine. And I could only imagine this guy knowing that it's over. And what do you want to do? Do you want to...
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then
who knows who the fuck he's working for? Let's just put that aside. Now, if you're working for... We don't have to name names. We don't have to speculate. If he's working for some agency, some group, some foreign group, and they decide to target his family because he's going to jail for the rest of his life anyway. They decide to target his family if he testifies against them. I could see where if I thought that it was like, I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life, or I tell and my family winds up being killed or destroyed, or who knows, maybe you'd say, look, the honorable thing is to end it in prison.
honorable, cowardly thing.
Whatever it is. Like,
So instead of exposing the cabal of globalists, Joe Rogan would kill himself. And Kash Patel would do the same thing, apparently. Like these guys who hate the New World Order, the quote unquote New World Order, who are supposedly against all of these individuals who control, governments across the world. Like, they would not want to expose them. That I don't believe that. I also think that it is a profoundly ridiculous jump to make. Like, why hasn't Ghislaine Maxwell killed herself yet then? What about that?
At some point, that guy was going back into Gen Pop. And the one thing I'll tell you about prison systems is the people they eat are child predators.
yes.
And he was going to get eaten.
Well known. Yeah. And they probably wouldn't have protected him. Yeah. So the narrative has always been that there's video.
Mhm.
Now, what is the chain of custody? Is there evidence that there is video? Is there evidence that it was moved around, stored, protected from people looking at it? Like,
You're going to get all that information. Like, that's literally what we're putting together. And we're going to give you every single thing we have and can. And that's the whole point. We can't fill gaps by making stuff up, and we're not going to do that.
and you have to be methodical.
And we have to be, that's the other thing, right? We're reviewing not just the video, we're reviewing everything as meticulously as we can, because that's what we owe the American people. That's our job. And I don't want to rush to the sticks or the podium and just say, hey, look what we found.
Right.
And then be like, oh, sorry, I forgot the 4 seconds. If we miss 4 seconds, they'll be like, oh, well, it's in the 4 seconds you missed.
Right.
So I'm
How much can you talk about what you've seen?
Not yet. Just what I've told
Can
you.
you say you've seen anything?
See, no, that's the point. That there's nothing in there, like
Oh
in the
my
video.
fucking god, dude. I could be in the desert dying of dehydration, and Kash Patel is trying to sell me water, and I would not buy it from him. He's like, he could literally say, like, if you don't drink this, you'll die, and I would die. He is the least convincing person I think I've ever observed. This whole fucking segment is stupid. You have this ongoing case, this very high profile case that you're not going to talk about at all. Now, I do understand not wanting to talk about this, but to say that you can't say anything 17 minutes into the video is fucking stupid. That should have been from the jump, right? Did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself? Yes or no? This is an ongoing case. We're collecting evidence. We will have the evidence for you, and we will disperse it when ready. But instead, Kash Patel is thrown 5 or 6 fastballs by Joe Rogan, and like he just keeps saying the same shit. He's like, "Trust me, bro. I got it. You're gonna see what I'm gonna see."
You guys would be bored.
You're talking about the video of the murder or the suicide.
The suicide.
But what about the video from the island?
The
that's
video
it.
of the
Sorry.
murder.
So you're talking about two different
Yes.
things.
Sorry.
So again, we're going to give you everything we can, and people have to remember, we're not going to re-victimize women. We're not going to put that shit back out there. It's not happening, because then he wins. Not doing it. You want to hate me for it? Fine. Again, logical play out. If there was a video of some guy or gal committing felonies on an island, and I'm in charge, don't you think you'd see it?
If you have access to it.
If I have it, period.
Right.
If I have it.
So
Where else would it be?
So wait, he just doesn't have any evidence at all? Is this what I'm gathering? Dude, this guy was awaiting trial. The evidence is there. How do you, as the director of the FBI, not have it 7 fucking years after it occurred? This does not make any fucking sense. This is like trying to build a puzzle and you're missing a corner piece. Except Kash Patel, that corner piece is in his fucking brain.
right, if you have it.
Right.
But you can't say that you have it
No, we're giving you everything we have.
so far.
Everything we have so far is
Have
the
you guys
universe.
gone over all the video that's available?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. That's what takes so much damn time.
Right.
And
And is there video from the island?
not of what you want. The people out there have filled the void with can't wait to see X, Y, or Z.
Right, speculation.
And I'm like, here's the other thing I've been asking for, right? Openly. If you have information on this, call us. Tell us. The best resource we have is the American people in the world.
Right.
Get me the tail numbers. Get me the flight, get me new information, and I will run that down.
So this narrative might not be accurate, that there's video of these guys doing this.
Exactly.
Is it possible that the video was taken and destroyed?
Well, you're talking about, what, decades worth of stuff, right? Remember, we have what we have pursuant to lawful search warrants and authorities from the case.
No one is asking for video from the island. What the fuck? Nobody wants to see that. We want to know who killed Jeffrey Epstein when he was in prison. We don't want the evidence of him committing all of these heinous crimes because, one, he had already been convicted once, okay? He had already been registered as a sex offender one time. It's not crazy to believe that he did it again. No one's interested in that. Like, we want the tape of what happened in that Manhattan Correctional Facility. The comments on this are rich because everyone is fucking clowning this fool. They're just insulting our intelligence at this point. So his only argument is, believe me, bro, no one gives a fuck if he killed himself. Where are the arrests? Who are the citizens? Did the FBI director really say Epstein and Prince Andrew connection is a conspiracy? Yeah, we're fucked, guys. Kash Patel is hiding evidence and protecting Epstein clients. How come Joe Rogan knows more than the guy working the case? Yeah, no, definitely. I don't even care if he killed himself. Where's the evidence and prosecuting of the criminals involved in his activities? I should clarify what I said. the evidence that we care about for the activities going on in the island, like, we don't want to see that, but we're sure that, you know, we're sure it exists, right? Okay, I think I misspoke when I said that. We don't want to see it, but we would like to know that it exists. And more importantly, yes, we want the people associated with Jeffrey Epstein to be fucking imprisoned. Please, like, break up the global pedophile ring. I think the world would be a much safer place